And right now at 6, California lawmakers charging ahead with plans to reshape the state's congressional maps. And that would mean a serious shakeup for Santa Rosa.
This is the worst kind of bad politics.
How North Bay voters feel about playing a major role in the redistricting drama.
We didn't start this game. We have to end it.
Plus, San Mateo County Sheriff Christina Corpus speaking out for the first time after testifying for days in her own removal hearing. How she's defending herself against some of the biggest corruption allegations.
You have to have people that you trust on your team. That doesn't mean that I crossed the line.
And the heat is here.
It's been pretty toasty.
At least for a few days, and everyone's trying to stay cool.
I'd prefer not to be in it, but it is what it is.
How long the warm-up will last and which areas could touch triple-digit temps. And later, fire danger is always top of mind during the heat. The new tools to prepare for potential wildfires and how homeowners can make the biggest difference in their own backyards.
This is CBS News Bay Area with Juliette Goodrich.
Good evening. We begin with first alert weather. A midweek blast of heat is hitting the Bay Area, and the hottest day is still ahead. As usual, it's places like inland Contra Costa County feeling it the most, from hard-working roofers to people lounging at the park, trying just to stay cool and be in the shade, even when you're riding a bike. But not everyone was fazed by the heat. Our photographer ran into Eli and his dad, Sam. Yep, they were playing basketball outside their Walnut Creek home. Eli told us the weather does not stop him from wanting to train. And by the way, he beat Dad in the one-on-one.
It's not super hot to me.
Really?
Because,
okay.
I go here, so it's not as bad. But
I know, just got to keep the games at 7.
Oh, okay.
And
okay.
only play 1 or 2.
Those are the rules. As warm as it was today, this mini heat wave is just getting started. So I want to bring in meteorologist Darren Peck with more on what we can expect tomorrow.
Tomorrow is the top on this, Juliette. 2 ways to visualize what's coming our way. The heat advisory here for pretty much the entire Bay Area, with the exception of the city and the coastline. Look at the coast. You are not included in the heat advisory. Put the numbers on this in 1 second. The other way to look at it is where the heat risk is. 2 different ways of communicating this. The simple way is the majority of us have a heat advisory. Go easy on yourself. The more nuanced way is if you find yourself in the part of the bay on this map where you're shaded in those bands of deep red and orange, you have a higher degree of risk to heat-related health impacts. Look at the inland East Bay on that map. There's a lot more red on there. Let's come back to the number, and I'll show you why they've got a higher degree of heat-related health impacts, or at least a risk from that. We'll put the colors on here. It's going to look pretty angry for tomorrow. We'll go ahead and pick out your part of the bay. We'll put all the numbers on here, and this, I'll just leave you with these numbers for now. This is the headline. Friday's almost as hot, but not as hot. We got to talk about Friday, and we'll do that in the full forecast. But this is day number 1 tomorrow. Those are some of the hottest temperatures that we've seen for the inland East Bay going back to like late May. We've been close, but we haven't done a whole lot of this summer, so that adds an added layer of go easy on yourself and take this one a little more seriously than you might otherwise. See you with the full forecast in a few minutes. Juliette, back to you.
See you soon, Darren. Thanks so much. And for the latest on the forecast in your neighborhood, you can follow us on air, online, and also on the free CBS News app. All right, to our other big story. The largest city in the North Bay is being literally drawn into battle over California's congressional maps. Tomorrow, state lawmakers are expected to vote on a measure to give voters a final say on a redistricting plan that would favor Democrats. Okay, so what exactly would that look like? So here's a comparison with the colors representing the rough party breakdown. The left side shows the current districts, and then on the right, as you can see, the new maps state Democrats are proposing. So the changes could give Democrats 5 more House seats. That includes a strangely shaped new district stretching from Santa Rosa up through Chico and then over to the Nevada state line. So we're going to hear from both sides of this debate. First, we sent John Ramos to check in with voters in heavily Democratic Santa Rosa who say they're conflicted about fighting gerrymandering with more gerrymandering.
With a population of about 200,000, Santa Rosa wouldn't normally be considered a political powerhouse. But in this topsy-turvy world of redistricting, it has become the focal point in the Bay Area. Donald Trump hasn't made a lot of friends in the North Bay, but he has certainly created a lot of activists, and most of them are centered in the Santa Rosa area.
Santa Rosa's average age is older, and it's therefore expects to be activist. Our demographic thinks that you protest, and so we do.
Sabra Briere is an organizer for Indivisible Sonoma, the local branch of a national protest group behind some of the largest anti-Trump demonstrations in the country. Whether it be immigration, or cuts to the VA medical system, or just a general dislike of President Trump, the gatherings in Santa Rosa are frequent, loud, and hostile. So this city seemed like a perfect place to those seeking to redraw the maps for the northern counties.
It feels good, oddly enough. It feels positive, but that's because I'm so angry at the Republican Party.
The target would be Doug LaMalfa, a Republican congressman from the Chico area. The new District 1 would reach clear over from the Nevada border to hit Santa Rosa, a huge population base in comparison to many of the small rural communities.
I tell people that Santa Rosa is 75% Democratic on bad days, okay? Typically more than that.
Dave Cahill is also an Indivisible member who sees the redistricting plan as necessary, describing it as not fair, but good.
So it's a way to strike back at the evil Republicans.
You see the Republicans as evil?
Oh, yes.
With those battle lines drawn, it feels like high stakes. But Santa Rosa resident Ed Silva is concerned about the high cost of a special election. That's not a concern in Texas.
They're not asking the voters for their vote, so there's no election. They're just doing it in the legislature. So there's a difference there.
Because they won't have to pay for an election?
Right.
Is that a good thing, though, or is it better to ask the people?
Well, I think it's always better to get the people's opinion, yeah. But it's at an expense.
But for many Democrats, expense is simply not a factor. They believe the future of democracy hangs in the balance. Scott Peterson lives in Guerneville and doesn't usually vote along any party lines, but he's alarmed by what he's seeing in the country. Do you think the gloves are coming off in politics now?
Somebody should stand up, but so far nobody has. So I hope somebody will stand up. Yeah. If it's Newsom, then it's Newsom.
We're not going to act as if anything is normal any longer. Yes, we'll fight fire with fire. Yes, we will push back. It's not about whether we play hardball anymore. It's about how we play hardball.
Do people see this as fighting fire with fire?
They do. They also see it as tit for tat, and they see it as very childish. But they see it was not a game that we started. We didn't start this game, and we have to end it.
For decades, Democrats have condemned any effort to disenfranchise the voters. Now they are doing it willingly. There's an old saying, never wrestle with a pig because the pig likes it and you'll only get dirty. In Santa Rosa, they don't think they have any other choice.
Okay, so on the other side of this issue, North Bay Republican Congressman Doug LaMalfa, who could lose his seat, he says if the proposed map goes through, it leaves smaller communities without true representation.
This is a very rural district here. It has a complete different set of values than what it's going to be drawn into, basically in the Bay Area. A complete different world as far as values. You know, they're releasing wolves on the ranchers up in my district, and they probably like them down in Sausalito.
Republican Assemblymember Tom Lackey echoed those sentiments at a hearing today. Lackey says he wants redistricting to stay in the hands of California's independent commission.
Their excuse? Texas is doing it. That's not leadership. It's abandoning our principles. Redistricting is how politicians decide who wins before voters get a say. It's the most brazen way to rig the system. When district lines are drawn for political advantage, the first casualty is often fair representation.
So as Republicans try to fight the plan for a special vote in November, they have one last chance in the courts. Republicans filed an emergency petition with the Supreme Court arguing the California Constitution guarantees a 30-day period for the public and lawmakers to review the legislation. Meanwhile, the Republican-controlled Texas House has just passed its new redistricting map. That would most likely give the GOP 5 additional seats in Congress. The Texas Senate is taking it up now. Meanwhile, Texas Democrats say they plan on challenging the new congressional maps in court. All right, turning to San Mateo County now, where embattled Sheriff Christina Corpus wrapped up 3 days of testimony in her removal hearing. And today, she addressed the public about the saga for the first time in months.
Well, the allegations are, they're false. And I will continue to fight. I will continue to prove to this county that I continue to keep them safe.
So this all stems from an independent report last year that accused Corpus of abusing her power. Our Lauren Toms now live outside the courthouse in Redwood City, where Corpus spoke with reporters earlier. Lauren.
Yeah, Juliet, I spoke with Corpus just after she wrapped up her testimony that spanned the better part of 3 days. And spoiler, she does not believe these proceedings are being handled fairly. She tells me that while she believes her actions are similar to that of her predecessors, her treatment, she says, is far from.
Inside this courthouse, Sheriff Christina Corpus told her story to a judge. But today, just steps outside, the embattled San Mateo County Sheriff is going public with how she says entrenched interests are trying to run her out of office. After 3 days of her civil hearing, she launched into a public defense of her actions as sheriff.
I have been fighting from day one when I won the election in the primary. I have been fighting the detractors, the people that don't want to accept the culture change that our community demands and that is so needed in law enforcement.
Speaking with reporters, she defended her hiring of Victor INJ as a top aide, despite his limited formal experience in law enforcement and concerns voiced by confidants of Corpus about their increasingly personal relationship.
Well, the allegations are, they're false. Just because I believed in him, I trust him. You have to have people that you trust on your team. That doesn't mean that I crossed the line or anything like that.
New testimony from a former ally and executive assistant from Corpus's time leading the Millbrae Police Bureau shed light on affectionate moments between Corpus and INJ in public and in private. Foot rubs, kisses, text messages relaying their love, and a trip to Hawaii.
In no other part of history has a sheriff been told who to bring onto her executive team. I believed in what he was doing. He believed in my vision for 21st century policing, and they didn't like that. And I was not going to allow for someone to tell me who I can have on my team. And, I stand by my decision.
As for the proceedings inside the courtroom overseen by a retired Santa Clara County judge, I asked Corpus if she thinks she's getting a fair shake.
Sheriff, do you believe that these proceedings are being conducted fairly on behalf of the county?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
Now, again, this is just one of 2 ongoing avenues to remove Sheriff Corpus from office. These proceedings are expected to last through next week, but ultimately the decision is held with the Board of Supervisors after they receive a recommendation from this presiding judge in about a month. The other avenue stems from a handful of grand jury accusations that could lead to a separate civil trial in the future. But these proceedings that we're seeing today are expected to have a much faster outcome. But Sheriff Corpus, of course, insisting that she has earned the job that voters elected her to do. Juliet?
Yeah, and Lauren, just you being there as a reporter, were you surprised that she came out and talked? Were you expecting that?
A little bit, but also at the same time, no. She has been wanting to tell her story publicly. She has said that all of this should be held open to the public. So this was really her first chance that she had to speak directly to us, the media, and the greater public. But along the way, we, of course, had been asking her to speak with us after each break we got in her testimony. She refused to do so. But today, for the first time, of course, speaking out and telling her side of the story.
Yeah, interesting timing on it, too. Lauren, thank you so much for that. All right, into other news now. A cleanup and investigation is ongoing right now after back-to-back smash and grabs in Oakland. Burglars slammed a car into the front of 2 banks last night. Authorities say they were after the ATMs. So this happened in Oakland's Chinatown just after 4 in the morning. Sterling Bank and Trust and Cathay Bank are both on Webster Street, just around the corner from one another. So the burglaries were minutes apart, both banks damaged with their ATMs just shoved back into the buildings. A manager at Cathay Bank says after all of this, nothing was taken. The president of the Oakland Chinatown Chamber Foundation, Carl Chan, is asking for help combating the smash and grab spree.
The chamber will set up, some funds to help, businesses being damaged. So we'll try to do whatever we can. But most importantly, we're asking that there should be more resources going into the Oakland Police Department.
Earlier this week, a jewelry store in Oakland was robbed in broad daylight. Thieves also used a car to ram into that building. Police are still searching for suspects. All right, still ahead right here at 6. The South Bay leaders team up with new tools in their ever-evolving fight against wildfires.
Now, I just don't think the neighbors understand how urgent this has to be.
Plus, how residents escaped from a fire that just ripped through multiple homes on San Francisco's west side. 5 people are displaced after a fire destroyed a home and damaged 2 others in San Francisco's outer Sunset. 4 people were hurt, including one person who jumped from a 3rd-story window to escape the flames. The fire broke out at a home on 47th Avenue between Judah and Irving Streets just after 6 this morning. It spread to the 2 neighboring homes and then was quickly put out. 3 people were hospitalized and they are in stable condition. Firefighters also rescued a cat from the home, but it later passed away. Another cat remains missing. So as temperatures heat up, wildfire danger is top of mind in the South Bay. So cities and counties are teaming up with new technology to try and prepare. So a group got together in Los Gatos today. Ann Makovic shows us how they're tackling the latest challenges by coming together with a regional approach.
The Burn Bot is the latest tool for fighting fires in Santa Clara County, a remote-controlled weed eater on steroids that removes dry brush in the most fire-prone spots. Because when it comes to wildfires, prevention is key.
Now, I just don't think the neighbors understand how urgent this has to be.
Jack Van Natta has lived in this Los Gatos home for more than 50 years, and at a news conference today, he talked about an annual gathering where neighbors clear brush, a tradition that's been a victim of its own success.
It gets less and less impactful every year because the fire doesn't come, so people tend to let their guard down.
Congressman Sam Liccardo was there to lead by example.
Who said you can't get any work out of a politician? All right.
Encouraging people to leave at least 5 feet of space between their homes and things that could help spread a fire. He also talked about the importance of working together as the feds cut funds to prioritize the most impactful projects.
And we're doing that in advance of the time when the money may be available, whether it's next month or perhaps with the next Congress. One way or another, we're going to be at the front of the line.
Santa Clara County is teaming up with tech to find the best evacuation plans. NASA aims to determine where embers might land and installing new sensors for wildfire smoke. But for Jack, it all comes down to his own backyard.
Our saying here is to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. And remember what Smokey the Bear said, only you can prevent forest fires.
The governor's Office of Emergency Services is also preparing for the worst in Southern California. Governor Newsom has sent extra resources to Los Angeles County ahead of the heat and dangerous fire conditions. We're talking more than 24 fire engines, extra water tenders, bulldozers, helicopters, and crew members. The hope is to speed up response times, minimizing the potential impact of new fires. Coming up, we know we're in for more heat, but how long will it last? Darren Peck looks ahead in the full First Alert forecast.
All right, this 2-day heat wave that's coming our way is the kind of variety that starts in the desert Southwest. Look at this big red blister out here. Let's get a high look down on the Four Corners region. I'll clear it out for a second so you can see where we are. We get heat waves one of 2 ways. The second way that comes in from the Four Corners, which is not the usual one that comes in from the Pacific, is the one where we see this big bubble of heat build out here. And that's what's about to happen over the next few days. So you can see the warmer temperatures are kind of bleeding over towards us. And this is how we're going to see our temperatures spike. We're getting a little taste, in this case, of the desert Southwest heat. We can get heat waves another way, where the high pressure builds in from the Pacific. This isn't one of those. And here's why that matters. Because along with the heat building in from the desert Southwest, if you visualize what the atmosphere is doing right now, we're going to look at the satellite in kind of a psychedelic looking weird way. This is the water vapor imagery. So it shows you where you've got the buildup of thunderstorms out here over Mexico. It happens every summer just like this. But why this matters now is because if you look at the direction this is all flowing, it's starting to get drifted and pulled our way. Just like that high pressure is kind of squashing the heat down and stretching it out towards us, it is also rotating the atmosphere around here in such a way that those storms are going to start getting pulled into California. We do not have rain in our forecast. But what is going to happen as those clouds start getting pulled back around our way is the clouds are going to get drawn towards the Bay Area. So let's come in for a close-up look at the imagery on here. And you're going to see all of a sudden, starting tomorrow, this big shield of clouds shows up. We don't normally see this. This is the time of year where we get the marine layer, the low clouds along the coast that build in. These are clouds coming from the desert Southwest. They're leftovers from thunderstorms that have been sheared apart. Look when it gets here. Tomorrow afternoon, I don't think you'll notice much of this yet, but it's going to get thicker overnight, and here's why this matters. This is now where we start looking ahead to the forecast for Friday. We're going to look at Thursday and Friday's daytime highs here in 1 second. Thursday's the hottest day, but Friday now has its own issue, and Friday now looks like it could be a little warmer than it did just in yesterday's forecast, because these clouds thickening up at night, now you've got this blanket overhead, which means we're going to hold in some of the warmth from Thursday, which means on Friday morning, you're going to have a head start on the warm-up. So this is the subtleties that go into forecasting heat waves like this. If we bring it back home and put this into the forecast here in the Bay, let me just show you what the numbers look like. We'll start out with the Thursday numbers. This is really the headline. I'll get out of the way so you can pick out your part of the Bay. And let's get a close-up look at the Inland East Bay if we can. Going 101 in Livermore, 102 in Concord, 99 in Santa Rosa. Now watch what happens on Friday. We'll say goodbye to the highs for Thursday. We'll transition the contours. It gets better if you're near the water, but it doesn't get better in a significant way if you are inland. So you still have a heat advisory for the Inland East Bay on Friday. The rest of the Bay doesn't. We all have it just for Thursday. But here in the Inland East Bay, the heat advisory is going to go for 2 days. You're just going to end up staying a little bit warmer than it originally looked like you might. All right, let's get that into the 7-day forecast now and see how that plays out for the weekend, because it does get better for Saturday and Sunday. Numbers will keep coming down. And by the time we've gotten to Sunday, now you're actually back down to average. There's Sunday's daytime high. 88's the average daytime high for this time of year. It's going from 102 tomorrow on Thursday to the upper 80s for the second half of your weekend. And then you're going to stay there for the entirety of the week after that. So this is going to be a short little lived buildup in heat. Make your plans tomorrow to go easy on yourself, and just know you're going to have to keep doing that for Friday, particularly if you're inland, and then it'll get better by the weekend. See you with more on this in the 7 o'clock newscast. Juliet, back to you.
See you then. When we come back, we'll check in with students during the back-to-school rush at UC Berkeley. All right, so even though the weather still feels like summer break is winding down for students at Cal. We were there for move-in day ahead of the new school year. Administrators joined the move-in mayhem this morning, sharing hugs and well wishes to comfort both parents and students as they get settled in. One freshman shared that she is feeling a bit anxious as this new experience starts. And that's it for us. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great day. Show's over. All right, let's go to the teas. Yeah.